Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. This is crazy. I can't believe we've already done 4 of these. It feels like we recorded one of these on the same day. It's crazy. It's nuts. You got Nathan. You got Cameron. Cameron, you want to say hi?
Hello, guys. We are very excited to come with another episode. Zero to James Charles, part 2. Yes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, we put an explanation in part 1. So yeah, I would say that my zero to James Charles scale right now, I'm still good today. So haven't done anything else but record. So kind of hard to get into that trending page
Yeah.
of YouTube.
Yeah, today hasn't been too bad. Only got a couple hours of sleep, but we've been recording for pretty much since we woke up, so
All for the people, all for you.
what we do for you.
In the last episode, we talked about a trivia question, a lot about like patience. And one of the things we talked about a lot on there was like the amount of time that we've had to wait for things. One of the things that I've had to wait for was Disney World rides, which I love Disney World. I would do it again. But our trivia question was how many minutes and for what ride was the longest verified wait time for a Disney World ride? Cameron, do you want to give us the answer for this question?
So we gave a little bit of a hint earlier on in the episode where Nathan was talking about his experience of waiting like 2 hours for this very same ride, the Avatar Flight of Passage ride in Disney World. And it's actually the longest time for it was 319 minutes, which is over 5.5 hours. I could never do that. It's too long.
It's an impressive ride. It's a lot of fun, but would I say that it would have been worth waiting over 5.5 hours? Absolutely not. I don't feel like anything's worth waiting over 5.5 hours to ride. Like your day is done by that point. It's over.
It's like by that point, that's the only ride you're even going to get on that day.
Right. Okay, so I take that back. If I really wanted to go and do that Millennium Falcon ride they have, I may wait 5.5 hours. Like that looks pretty cool. But
Anything Star Wars, I would wait like a whole day for. It's okay.
that's true. That is true. I would do it. I would be, I might not have 46 days worth of patience like the Israelites, but I would be patient for a year for Star Wars stuff. So,
Yes.
but yeah, no, fun ride. Highly recommend it. Here's your travel tip for when you're out of Coronatine. If you go and you want to ride this ride, try to snag up those fast passes because it still takes forever to get on it, but it's well worth it. It's fun. Just
Yes.
bring things to keep your children entertained because it's a long, long wait time.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I would just take a nap.
I tried. I really did. The way that they did their line, though, it's really cool. There's a lot of things to see, but it's not a line that has buttons or anything that you can push and like enjoy. And at one point, you're in like a fenced area. It's supposed to kind of look like a workstation, and there's nothing to lean up against. It was very hard.
Yeah, they should make lines like part of the attraction. Like there's like stuff to interact with in the line. That'd be cool.
Yes. One thing that I had suggested, and I really want to see it, and I know Disney could do it because Disney, but like little like seats that you sit on, and as the line progresses, it just moves the seat forward. So you don't actually have to stand or
So
do
like
anything.
a conveyor belt of seats.
Yes. Like like at those aquariums where they have like those moving platforms where you stand on it and then you can like look at the fishies and stuff like that and you don't have to walk anywhere. You can just really appreciate what you're staring at. That I think needs to be in every wait line everywhere. You should see this little conveyor belt of peoples who are just sitting there. And you could maybe even like go the extra mile and put like little screens on these bad boys. And like if you are thirsty or you want like food, you could order from your little seat and you'll
It's
have
like
a
an
little
airplane.
Yes, you'll have a little Disney like waiter come out like be our guest style, a little tray of goodies and they'll hand it to you. Obviously, they have to charge for it, but we could do it. I'd pay for that. You wanted to get real crazy and weird, you can build a potty in that seat. You could just nobody has to know. I think it's a Disney magic idea right there. So if anybody from Disney happens to be listening to this podcast,
patent pending.
There you go. Build yourself some conveyor belts and give me some snacks. There you go. Disney magic.
If they ever do this, we're suing them.
Yes, this is ours. Just mention me, or at the very least, put my name on the conveyor belt or something.
I just want money.
I just want money.
I just want their revenue.
We're not doing that to help people. Helping ourselves. Oh my goodness. But for this week, rather than kind of have a kind of like what we did last week, rather than have a current event, we're going to go ahead and just have more a random moment of random topics. And one of the questions we came up with, where I feel like this is relatable for everybody right now, what do you plan on doing after Coronatine?
Yeah, so I was talking to some of my friends the other day, and we were talking about when this is all over, if it's ever over, what are we going to do? And so for right now, April 30th is the end time for quarantine. And if that is true and it doesn't go longer, then on May 1st, we are all going to meet up and have a little barbecue and, get lit. It'll be fun.
I think you're a little young to get lit.
No.
No, it was. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Take a nap, get my sleep back on track, because I ain't got that together right now. But
yeah, wait. We have all the time in the world to sleep, and that's like the only thing I don't do.
I'm not doing it. Nope. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna join a gym and I'm gonna get back in shape. I'm not going to, but I'm gonna say it. Just because, why not? I say it every other year. Why not now? So already setting myself up for disappointment after Coronatine. That's okay. But no, in all honesty, one thing I really, really want to do when this whole thing is done, which I think is kind of ironic because I don't think I'm actually going to be able to for a while until things kind of normalize. I want to travel. I want to go somewhere. I want to take these relief checks they're sending. I'm going to bank it. And I'm going to go to Disney World. I'm going to ride on the Millennium Falcon. I'm going to wait 5 hours in the patent pending, specialty wait line and get myself a snack. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's like we've been cooped up in these houses for so long. I just want to leave the country.
Mm-hmm. I'm done. I don't want to be here. One thing that I think is going to feel really weird is actually having the opportunity to go out and do anything. I think it's a little easier having some patience with it when the opportunity isn't there. Like, I keep telling myself, I want to go up to Great Lakes Crossing or to the malls and hang out and have fun. And not being able to is kind of nice. But when things start reopening up and I know that people are there, but I know I can't necessarily go yet, I'm going to go crazy. That's where I'm going to be like, I'm done. I can't do this.
Oh, yeah. It's like during Coronatine, it's like everything is closed. So I know my friends aren't hanging out without me because it's illegal. But once everything opens up again and my friends would go out and hang out and don't invite me, I'm going to be real upset because I know that they're doing it because it's not illegal anymore. Like you just didn't before. You weren't allowed to go. Now you're just not inviting me.
Oh my word! It's okay. I'll invite you. I'll take you with me. We'll go do something.
My friends don't really ever do that, except sometimes, like me and my best friend will go out and do something and not tell the rest of the group. It's evil, but sometimes you gotta get away from everybody else.
I'm telling you, I'm still willing to do like a coffee run for you. We'll get some coffees and I'll drop it on your front porch and you can enjoy those bad boys all by yourself.
Yeah, I haven't had this Starbucks in 2 months and I'm not doing too well.
So, I tried DoorDashing coffee from Big B one time. And I don't know why. I was craving it, really wanted it. I didn't want to go out and get it though. So somebody texted me and was like, just DoorDash it. And I'm like, who? And by the way, we're not getting any money from DoorDash, so this is all free advertisement for them. But they were like, please, you should just DoorDash your coffee order. And I'm like, ooh, I could do that. And so I tried it. I paid probably $13 for that coffee after delivery fees and tip. And am I proud of it? No. Was I happy and satisfied? Yes. Would I do it again? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you would. It's like sometimes at school, we're not allowed to leave to go get lunch, like at a normal high school. So I have to resort to using DoorDash. I'm like, is it really worth spending $18 for 3 burritos at Taco Bell? Yes, it is very worth
Absolutely.
it. It is worth it.
100% worth it. The first last week I ate out a lot. And I had resorted to using a lot of DoorDash. And I went to go try to order from Taco Bell because I was craving it. And they had free delivery, so I was very excited. And my DoorDash thing, so to put in perspective, I started ordering this at 6 o'clock. And this is Taco Bell, okay? Like, one of the fastest things they should be able to make is just the Taco Bell food. And so it told me, your deliver person is gonna arrive with your Taco Bell between like 6:15, 6:30ish, something like that. I'm like, who? That's beating like Jimmy John speeds. Like, this is it. Let me tell you, I got my Taco Bell at 8:30 at night.
Oh my gosh, how did that happen?
I waited 2.5 hours for my Taco Bell. They literally, I don't know what happened. I got a new delivery person, I don't even know how many times. I think I got 3 different delivery people. And at one point I'm watching the little map that they give you, and they're just sitting at Taco Bell. I don't know what experience they were experiencing trying to get me my Taco Bell. But yeah, it took me 2.5 hours, I think, to get the food. Did I get a discount? No. Was I happy
Yeah.
I got my Taco Bell? Yeah, I was. So
Honestly, I would be pretty upset, but I think I'm okay with waiting for 2 hours for Taco Bell. It's I would be upset while I was waiting, but I'll still be just as happy when I'm eating it.
I was playing games with somebody and I was getting frustrated, and they were like, Nathan, your Karen's coming out. And I'm like,
Oh no.
oh snap, I see it. I just need my Taco Bell and I'll be okay. So I calmed my Karen. I was okay, and things were happy. So what do I plan on doing after Coronatine? Getting me a reasonably priced taco from Taco Bell in 15
Yes.
minutes or less.
Taco Bell is probably the thing I miss the most. Forget my friends. I need Taco Bell.
I need Taco Bell.
That's what I need.
When my friends forget to invite me to things, Taco Bell's always there for me. It might take them 2.5 hours, but I'm getting some Taco Bell.
Yeah, they always show up. It might
They're
not be on
always there.
time, but they're there.
All right, so kind of going into our segment 2 here. Like we said last week, we split the lesson into 2 parts. So last week we talked about patience. This week we kind of want to talk a little bit more about the topic of meeting God's expectations. So I'm going to give another summary here, a little different than last week's summary. So same story. If you listen to the video that kind of goes along with this particular lesson, you'll get some more context, but we're going to give a little bit more specifics of this particular story, specifically in terms of Aaron. So here's the summary here. While the Israelites wait for God to finish work and for Moses to return, Moses appoints Aaron to oversee and be a help to the Israelites while he is away. During the 46 days the Israelites waited, the Israelites approached Aaron requesting he make them an idol. To appease the Israelites and to protect his image among the people, Aaron creates the idol they request and then wrongly tells the Israelites that the idol is the actual God who led them out of Israel. So kind of a wild story here a little bit. When we're kind of looking at expectations, I think we can kind of break this down, or how maybe we can approach this topic for this particular lesson is the world's expectations versus God's expectations, as well as trying to reach the peak of or like exceed people's expectations. Um, so I guess like in many parts of life and in society, I think we're constantly faced with expectations, like take a reasonable amount of toilet paper when you're at the grocery store, or don't buy all the hand sanitizer to a point where you don't know how to sell your hand sanitizer. um, and like I think Aaron kind of met himself in this kind of position where he's like has to choose those expectations. So, have you ever been in a similar position where you had to choose to either follow God or follow the world, or like trapped between two sets of expectations?
Oh yeah, I think everybody's felt that, and it's really like when you're out in public in the world, you are probably going to face something like that just about every day. I'd say like some examples would be like when I'm at school or work, and like somebody asks me to like do something, like, or go hang out, and like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, mm, uh, on one hand, I want to hang out with you because you're my friend. On the other hand, I really don't want to do that because
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of bad.
Sure.
It might get me in some trouble. So, but I usually just like give in and just go hang out with them anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'll go hang out with them, but I won't participate. Sometimes I will even participate if I'm like if I feel pressured enough. Like I don't really give in under peer pressure too much, but like if I'm depending on who it is, I'll give in like pretty easily.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's definitely difficult. I think like choosing the worldly option sometimes feels like the easier option until you get down the road and find out, oh, the consequences for this one are a whole lot worse than had I just picked the right one to begin
Yeah,
with.
and to like coincide with the patience part, it's like I think when I'm in a good mood and I'm like life is going well, I don't really give in to anything. I'm usually like have a lot of willpower, but like when I'm in a bad state of life, and like I'm like on the depression, it's like
Mm.
I'll just like not care about anything. I'll just give in. Like if somebody says, "Hey, you want to go do this?" But yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? Sure, why? Cool. Jump off a
Why
bridge?
not?
Yeah, let's go.
Why not? Let's go.
I'll never. Okay, so I have a funny story about that. When I was growing up, or when I had gotten to college, one of the like first things that happened, like the first week of college or whatever, a bunch of like the college people I had met were like, "We're gonna go to this bridge. We're gonna jump off this bridge into this water," and I had to face kind of that thought in my mind of like, what expectation do I follow? Do I kind of follow this? I know this is kind of quirky. It doesn't necessarily seem like a worldly expectation. I guess I could say like my parent expectation. I had that little voice of my mom in the back of my head that was like, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump off that bridge? And my head was going, absolutely. I can't wait to jump off this bridge. Like this is gonna be so much fun. Um, and things happened where I was not able to go, and actually somebody did actually get injured by going and doing it. I don't know what happened. They like landed in shallow water and got hurt. They're okay, but um, kind of a quirky way of explaining those expectations. But I think that yeah, we're faced with those decisions every day of our lives between, are we going to do what we know may not be the best, or are we going to follow what we know is the right, I guess I could say, path. And I really feel for Aaron in this story because like he's got 46 plus days and tons of people who are impatient and looking at him for like an answer or solution. If I was in that position, I think that I'd have a really hard time not trying to appease and just hold on to faith and keep myself busy enough to not also make a poor decision in that scenario.
Yeah, like not only with like the Aaron losing his patience, like with the expectations, he was like uh he was like he knew what he was supposed to do, and he knows idolization is bad, but he's like, I really need these people to like get off my cheese and calm down, so I'm gonna make this false god for them. Like this is the god. Like just like have you ever? I'm sure you have. I think everybody has. Like you've been like you're so annoyed with somebody that you just like agree with them so they shut up.
Yep. Yep. All the time. You're just like, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. And then like you just want it to be over. I feel like maybe that's where Aaron kind of was in this position too. Where he's just like, what else do I do? And the craziest thing about this, I guess, scenario as well is, you know, I think in any time that, you know, whether Aaron's faced with this decision or we're faced with the decision of following God's expectations versus the world's expectations, in the moment, the world's expectation might feel right. And if you follow through, you may not feel the effects of that decision until later on. But it never seems to come out where like you're actually looked at as being a good person. Like Aaron, I think, really recognized that in this story though too, where he goes ahead, gives in, and then when Moses comes off the mountain and looks at him and like, dude, what is that? He goes, I don't know, man. Like I threw gold into a fire and it made that gold calf. It was crazy, dude. I don't know what happened. Like he knew that like his image, what he was trying to protect image wise, made him look a whole lot worse in the long run.
Yeah, it's like he knew like that what he did wasn't true, but like he convinced the people that that was the God, because like I think it makes it even worse, like the fact that he wasn't like some sheep following, like he knew who God really was, and he was like, I know this little golden calf is not actually God, but these people are not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed, so they'll probably believe me. You know, they did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And so like in terms of that idea of being trapped in a position where you have to choose between God's expectations or the world's expectations, from your personal experiences, how difficult is it or was it for you to follow the expectations of God rather than the expectations that were being placed by people around you?
I'd say, especially like in the beginning of high school, it's like it was really really hard, especially like freshman and sophomore year. It's like you're entering this new stage of your life and you just like want to be cool. I'm like, I've never really had that problem with like caring what people think about me, because like I really don't care. It's like uh with my personal friends, because I go to the like a K through 12 school
Mm-hmm.
in one building. I've been in the same hallway for like 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I've had the same best friends for like over 10 years. So it's like their opinions are like the only opinions that matter to me. So like if they say something about me, I'm like, yo, dude, that's not cool.
Sure.
And if they say, if you don't come do this with us, then you suck. And I'm like, well, I don't want my best friends of 10 years to think I suck, so I'm gonna go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll usually like give in to like what they want me to do rather than doing what I know is right. But like for a while, it was pretty easy. But then once I hit high school, they all the homies started wanting to do other stuff, and I was like,
Sure.
I don't know if I want to do that stuff, but I did it anyway because I didn't want to disappoint the boys, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think especially in high school, a lot of people are trying to figure out the person that they are, and they're trying to figure out like what is it that I enjoy or what is it that I like, and I don't. I think it's you're pressured in so many different ways, and especially with like you got social media now, and you got everywhere is like this pressure to become something or do something or reach a certain expectation that the world has. Um, at least from personal experience, yeah, it's there were times early on where choosing God's path was easier, but I started making like I guess you could say exceptions to the rules. And before I knew it, I was just entirely like somebody would tell me, "Hey, you want to go do this?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a bad idea. Sure, yeah, let's do it." Like,
Yeah,
can't wait.
yeah. It's I like how you said like exceptions. It's like I would used to tell myself is like, nah, that this isn't wrong. It's like I would like try to come up with an excuse of why it's not wrong.
Mm,
Like, one time me and my friends were going to hang out, and that we wanted to like pull a prank and on somebody in public. Like we were at the movie theater and we were gonna like cause a scene to like cause a ruckus,
Oh no.
disturb the peace, just like to be funny. Definitely a dumb idea because we got kicked out of the mall. But yeah, it was like, should I do this or should I behave and be a good guy and not make everybody scared to be around us? And I definitely, I did it. I threw my friend in the little, that like fountain near Best Buy.
Yes.
Yeah, we threw one of our friends in and we got kicked out.
Oh no. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie. I have to fight expectations when I walk past a thing all the time because I really want to jump in. It looks fun.
yeah.
So
It's like on one hand, it's like my parents like God says, I honor your mother and father, and my parents every time I ask to go hang out, they're like, don't do anything stupid. And then I get there and I'm like, I'm gonna do something stupid.
uh and in the moment, I feel like no matter when you're faced with that kind of decision, in the moment it seems like a lot of fun and it seems really funny. And if it's bad enough, like if the decision that's made is severe enough, the consequences that come with that afterwards, depending on what you do, they can stick. And dealing with like the after effects of what seemed like a good idea and it really wasn't is the hardest thing. Like the guilt or like the permanent like effects of it. Like if you get kicked out of a mall and then your face is on the front door, that's just like keep an eye out for these kids.
Oh
Like
yeah.
don't let them in. One, my face is on the door forever, but then I can't go to the mall, so it's not fun. There are, I think, some consequences in life that do stick a lot more. And Aaron, you know, nearly when you go back to that story and you see just how upset and just kind of, I think, done with the Israelites. God really wanted to empty his wrath on those people, and I think it had every right to do so. Um, and if you think back on it, Aaron's choice nearly wiped him out, um, by making an idol and then declaring that idol as the one that like split open the Red Sea. Yeah, no bueno, not good, But in terms of like not just having to choose between expectations or like choose between the world's expectation and God's expectation. I think that when we look at expectations, we kind of look at them as a goal. So, like something that we want to reach a peak point of, or the ceiling of whatever it is. So, whether that be like sports or um, just things around at home or in school or whatever the case is, wanting to not just meet an expectation, but reach the ceiling point of it. When it comes to God's expectations, I don't really think that they have a ceiling. Like, I don't think that they peak. Um, so that can kind of be a little scary and maybe a little bit of a different mindset to think about. So, how do you feel knowing that, unlike other sets of expectations that we face in the world, that your godly expectations don't necessarily peak?
Yeah, so like usually with like expectations in the real world, like so I have to get to the certain point and then I will have completed my goal. Whereas being a Christian is like there is no once I get here, I'm done. It's like it's for your whole life. You never stop. So it's like you have to keep trying to get better and keep witnessing to people. It's not like, oh, I'm going to witness to 5 people and then I don't have to do anything for the rest of my life. It's like there is no like you've reached a goal until you die and go to heaven. That's pretty much like that's the goal. So while you're like on earth, the goal is to do it forever. But that's a little difficult sometimes, obviously. But
Sure. Yeah, one of I think I mentioned on the first podcast, one of my favorite artists. I don't know why I love her music, Billie Eilish, and that girl. If you watch the Grammys or whatever, she like wiped all of the main categories. She like took everything, like the things that people like try to work towards throughout their career and try to achieve. She at her first Grammys was like took them all. And I thought about that concept for a little bit in terms of expectations for these artists, musicians or professional athletes and things like that. At what point do you like cap out your expectation? Like at 18 years old, she has achieved these limits that people who work in that business for years sometimes don't even get. At what point do you just hit a peak in yourself where you can't achieve anything further? And thinking about that though, and then looking at God's expectations, I find some sort of comfort in knowing um, I'm not going to reach the ceiling, that I'm not going to peak, that like I'm not gonna, like you had said, I'm not gonna witness to one person and God's gonna go, okay, that was your purpose. Bye. Like push me out to the side and I can't do anything else. Um, God, I think not having or not being able to achieve the expectations of God because God's expectations don't have a peak or a ceiling show me that there is a huge load of potential and opportunity that are open. That when it talks about, when we look at the world's expectations, you're going to peak and ceiling those all the time. They're more so like a goal almost. When it comes to reaching God's expectations, there isn't that ceiling, but I think that's because God wants you to have an opportunity, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like the example at the Grammys. It's like for a musician, it's like the goal of being a musician is to get a Grammy. It's like once you have that Grammy, I mean, you can still make stuff, but you don't really have to. You've already achieved your goal.
Sure.
But like with God, it's like there is no Grammy. It's like you just keep going until you can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get the Grammy as a musician, it's like, oh, I'm done. So, or like with a director getting an Oscar, I'm like, I've reached this goal. I have gotten what I wanted.
Sure.
I'm done. But as a Christian, it's like there's no goal to reach necessarily. It's just I'm gonna keep working until I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as you said, there's no peak. It just keeps going, which is pretty comforting because then the opportunities never end. It's like sometimes when people like get an Oscar or get a Grammy, they're like, okay, you've reached your limit. Now nobody cares about you. But like it just keeps going now. But
Right. And I think that brings a lot of anxiety or fear for people, and I get that too. I think a lot of people get really concerned at the thought of not being able to reach an endpoint or achieve something. And I think it's just a perspective change. Like you can look at a relationship with God as not having a peak and think that that means you're never going to achieve something. Or you can look at it at that situation in a different perspective of the fact that because there isn't a ceiling, you are not in some kind of competition to be better than somebody else. And I think that's a beautiful thing. When it comes to the world's expectations, especially when you think about artists, they give rewards and they give awards to people because they're trying to be better than everybody else. Whereas God's expectation is more so, the expectation is more personal. It's, this is the plan that I have for you, and you don't have a cap. Follow me and do the things that I have for you. You're not going to have to reach a ceiling. And at the same time, I'm not necessarily expecting you to do all the things that I might have for somebody else. So you're not in a competitive type thing. And that's something that when people are trying to follow God or trying to, I guess, quote unquote, be a better Christian, I think that we oftentimes like look at each other and we set ourselves short because we feel we can't achieve what it seems like that person has achieved. But there isn't a ceiling. There isn't a peak. There's not like a set of rules of expectations. It's, two expectations. We talked about in I think it was episode 2 when we talked about, or maybe it was episode 1. It was episode 1 when we talked about the 10 Commandments. And when God is questioned, what are the 2 greatest ones? And he responds with, love the Lord thy God and love other people. Those are your expectations. If you're loving other people and you're loving God, you're achieving those steps to follow God's plan and advance God's plan. And I think that we overcomplicate that. I don't think it has to be that complicated.
Yeah, and then like with the whole opportunities aspect, it's like in real world things, when it's like a competition, there's only so many things you could do, and you're like put in a box. But when it comes to God, there's like you're not limited by anything because God's not in a box. He's not limited, so it's like unlimited opportunities and potential. It never gets old. Whereas like as a musician, it's like there's only so much you can do until it's like there's nothing else to do.
Sure. When it comes to patience and meeting expectations, I think when it comes to a relationship with God, you have to have both. You have to understand that those expectations will change over time. It doesn't mean that they're going to change instantly. So there's that patience portion there of you have to build that relationship. You have to actually try and put effort into it. It's not going to be a wake up experience where you just are there. You've met the biggest, largest expectation. Aaron in the story didn't necessarily meet the expectation, but the beautiful thing is because he didn't meet that expectation, it wasn't like he was written off. It wasn't like he was just done. Like he still had a job to do. I think God was still willing to, keep on trying, and it goes to show how much of a patient God we have. He could have just ended everything right there, but he doesn't, which I think is cool. Kind of tying this back in with the Israelites, when they kind of go and they ask for this idol that they could follow, I think that their goal here is they want a God that they can control, that follows their ways, not necessarily a God that they can follow God's ways, but they want something that they can kind of control and manipulate. And I feel like we probably do that a lot too.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely try to manipulate a lot of aspects of our life. Instead of like waiting for God to do something, we'll try to manipulate the situation to get what we want out of it. So like as the Israelites did, instead of waiting for God to deliver them into the promised land, they were like, we're going to find a different way. And Aaron was like, I have the way. Here's a little golden calf.
Do you know
like
the way?
Yeah. Do you know the way? It's like, a lot of times, I guess we find ourselves like, instead of relying on God, we try to like twist it to our advantage and like come up with a different method, which probably isn't even going to work, which we see in this situation, it definitely did not work. So, yeah.
Yeah. So kind of closing out this segment too. I found this verse just kind of in my own Bible reading that I felt was really applicable to this particular story. I think a lot of where the Israelites got frustrated and impatient, and why I think we get frustrated and impatient when it comes to choosing God's expectations over the world's expectations, is that we expect that God is thinking and has a plan that is going to match perfectly with what ours is. And I found this verse that I think really just kind of very to the point says that that's not the case. So it's found in Isaiah chapter 58, verses 8 through 9. And it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my way higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." We're never going to be able to reach God's expectations, and there's not a ceiling to God's expectations, because our thoughts here on earth are never going to match what it is that God has planned. And I think the more that we try to make that happen, the more impatient we're going to get, the more frustrated we're going to get. You're going to miss out on that peace and joy that God has promised and wants to provide to us, if we as people continue thinking that the God that we serve is supposed to just magically answer what we want. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially with like the frustration, because it's like a lot of people are like, I got to do this, keep all the 10 commandments, and like just try to be perfect and reach God's expectations. And then a lot of people are like, I'll never be perfect. I can never reach those expectations. I'm like, that's kind of the whole point, because it's like there is no expectations to meet because it is impossible, because all of us are imperfect. But like, instead of worrying about trying to be perfect and meeting his expectations, just try, and humbling yourself, knowing I can't like be perfect, but I can try, and trying is what really matters.
And I think the cool thing is too, I think God understands people. I mean, I know he understands people in a way that we just don't understand ourselves. But I think that that's what's so beautiful at the fact that he's also not expecting us to meet his expectations. I think he knows that we just can't. I think it's because he knows that we can't, where we get verses in the Bible that talk about, but by grace are you saved through faith and not of works, because our works and the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, we're never going to achieve a salvation if we try to do it ourselves. That's like taking spaghetti, throwing it at a wall, and trying to hope that one of our good works stuck well enough to where now we've met that expectation, and when we can go to heaven. And when it comes down to it, we can't. And God's understanding of the fact that we can't, I think, is what led to, we talked about the Easter story a few weeks ago, leads him to send Jesus to be able to die and essentially become that path, that way that we can actually be forgiven for the things that we are not going to meet, be forgiven and saved from the fact that we can't physically meet the expectation that God would like for everybody to meet, because I think he understands we are not of a mindset and capability to necessarily meet him all the time. And rather than putting this unrealistic expectation on us to be perfect people all the time, he says, I get that you can't do that, and here's a way out of it. I think it's a very loving aspect. I think it's a very, when you think of God's love, while yes, he does have a lot of wrath as well, and he has the power to wipe things out if he wants to, I think that in itself really solidifies just how much God does really love people on this planet.
Yeah, and it's like, to close out this segment, I think it's like all that more impressive when people really try their best, because like knowing that it is impossible to be perfect and to meet God's expectations, it's like all that more impressive when somebody is fairly close yet so far away from the expectations, because like it's so hard to meet them that when people actually try, it's like you can tell, because most people either don't try or don't try hard enough. So it's like when you see that somebody's trying hard, it's super obvious, because they're different than everybody, because they're trying hard to do something that is impossible. So it definitely shows. But yeah, on that note, we have to our last segment, trivia.
It's a trivia question. I need to find some fun trivia music. Although I said I was gonna find some fun music for the other one. Just imagine it. It's all imaginary. It's in your head.
Oh yeah. Let's just play the Jeopardy music and hope we don't get sued. Yeah. It's like
I don't think I'm willing to risk that one.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're being met with that worldly expectation versus godly expectation, and I don't think we're gonna win that one.
You definitely cannot do that. But for this week's trivia question, we have a very personal one. I run cross country, so I could never imagine doing this, because I know running a 5K is bad enough, but this is, what is the time it takes to walk the presumed world's longest continuous walk from Cape Town to Magadan? So that's like from the bottom of Africa to like the tip top of Russia. So like my 5K around Heritage Park in Taylor is like, I'm out of breath. Like walking from Cape Town to Magadan, how long do you guys think that would take? Do you think it would take a week, a month, 5 years? Like what is how long would it take for an average person to complete the trip? Just comment down below. I'm excited to see your guys' answers. I'm sure somebody's going to say like a decade. But 10 years. Yeah.
It would be for me.
Somebody that has never ran a mile, they're going to be like, it'll take like 2 days of like.
We got the Flash like in real life or something. I was just surprised. Yeah, you can actually, like, obviously don't do this right away. Try to take a wild guess at first before Googling it. But you can actually Google map bottom of Africa and like Cape Town to the top of Russia and Magadan, and you can like set Google Maps to show you the walking path for that. And there is a continuous walking path from one up through the other. So if you're really adventurous and you want to go on for a little hike or something, you just fly yourself down to Africa and just start there.
Yeah, it's just a short hike, and it shouldn't take too long. But I'm definitely excited to go do this. It'll be fun.
Bring toilet paper. You're gonna need
Oh,
it.
you're gonna need it.
Stock up. You will not have enough. I promise
Yeah,
you.
we're not stocking up for the corona. We're stocking up for our long time.
Kind of wrapping stuff up here. I know that we had kind of a more of a deeper topic today, and I know that maybe some people might have some questions in regards to that. So if you guys have questions in regards to anything that we talked about, you want some more information in regards to salvation or figuring out how to not be so bored, whatever the case is, message us. We're not strangers. We don't bite too hard. So
Yeah, not too hard.
Not too hard. But Cam, do you have anything else before we kind of wrap up?
As I mentioned in episode 3, part 1 of this 0 to James Charles Corona scale, it's like I am starting to figure out other ways to not get bored, but one of those ways is focusing a lot on getting the podcast spread around, focusing on the social media.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said in episode 3, it is now on Apple. It is on Apple. So if you don't have Spotify, you don't like YouTube, you don't even know what Anchor is, iTunes is now supporting our podcast, which is very exciting. And all the links are on the website.
Yeah, and if you've got friends, like this isn't just something necessarily for Beacon. This is open to everybody. I know that we use Beacon as kind of a platform, and we give them copies of this and we kind of tag along with them, but it's definitely meant for any type of listener. So if you've got friends that you know who maybe just need encouragement or just need a place to kind of go and have something to encourage them throughout their day, absolutely feel free to share this out. We don't want to exclude anybody. So
thanks for listening and hanging out with us, guys.
Awesome. Until next time, remember to be different, do different.